Hi, Art. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Your hair is much longer than on your picture.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my face has changed a few times in the last year.
I like your background. It's very groovy.
Thank you. Spinning Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll do an introduction real quick.
So this is a recording, and then you're gonna post it on your. I wasn't sure. It's not a live thing, right? So,
No, it's not live.
and then it'll go on your channel.
It'll go on Nothing Media and my channel.
Oh, perfect. And then I can put it on my channel too, right?
Totally. Yes, please.
Cool. It's gonna be on at least 3 channels.
At least. Yeah, the more the merrier.
Yes, absolutely.
Ooh. So so this is a talk with Giselle Suarez for Nothing Media and my podcast Ocean to Ocean. And this is on non-duality and anything else that comes up. So
Hmm.
welcome, Giselle.
Thank you, Art. It's a pleasure to be here.
I've really been enjoying your videos recently.
Good. That's good to hear.
I find I I find it just refreshing anyone who speaks, who comes from this kind of non-dual, way of, you know, whatever verb you want to add in there, thinking, being, experiencing, you know. Um, and now you describe more of what I've heard others call the embodiment side of things, maybe.
Hmm. That's cool. Yeah.
I mean,
I
go ahead. Yeah.
I I hadn't heard it put that way, but it makes sense. It seems to feel that way anyway. Um, yeah, that last talk I gave with for the Nothing conference, I believe it was on Friday.
Yeah.
There was the first time that I ever talked about uh, it in such a way. And I, which is with most things, uh, it seems to go this way mostly when talking about this subject or any subject that's trying to not to capture, but to sort of reflect and understand reality or life or the self. That's really juicy territory, and we all have our preferences for those that are, involved in that. And in my opinion, that ranges from everything from religion to science to spirituality to non-duality. So it was the first time that I was speaking about the embodiment, as you said, and how it's completely shifted in my life and my experience of life and my understanding of life. And uh, and it's just like this force expressing itself like this, right?
Yeah.
Like it all is always, but there is always this, not always, but in some cases, in a child how to and or something like that. There seems my internet connection is unstable. I hope that's just on my end. Can you still hear me and see me? Okay, it
You
just
you
went
were
away.
you were freezing
I'm
there
still
for a
here.
minute. Yeah, I'm still here. um
I'm still here too. Yeah.
yeah.
So um that there's just this natural flow that anything you say and how it comes out is totally fine. And honestly, it is through this path that has helped me or prepared me or compelled me or fueled me. I don't even know words to be this way in every aspect of life, to play like the analogy, it's a sandbox. And there's no sandbox that's more important or less important for that matter than any other one. And there is no right way to play in any sandbox or wrong way to play in any sandbox. And that's what I felt what became the trappings, like with anything really, of non-duality, that this is the right way to speak about it. Or if you're a true non-dualist, whatever the fuck that means, then you wouldn't be talking about, in my case, for example, hypnosis. I'm like, I'm not a true non-dualist. I'm not a true anything. I'm a human being, and that's where that's all I could say about that. You know what? And I'm not even quite sure what that is either. But you know, it's a label. So you know, in my sandboxes, I started to play within the hypnosis sandbox, which is fascinating because that is really, really all about the mind and perceptions and shifting perceptions and reality and how the mind changes. Sure, maybe nobody's changing it, but it's changing. My mind is thinking way different thoughts than it was 6 months ago. And let me tell you, they're much funner, they're much lighter, they're much more playful, and there's a lot more to explore with them, right? Whereas in non-duality, I mean, there's a beautifulness and there's a, for me and a lot of people apparently, there's a resonance that's like, this is the way the world works. This is what reality is. This is what the self or no self is. And once you get to this stop, if you will, it seems like that's it. It's the end of the road. There's nothing else. And maybe that's true for some. But does that mean it's the ultimate truth? Does that mean anything else is an illusion? Or yeah, it's all an illusion, really. Even non-duality is an illusion for that. But yeah, it's so I really like how it's not a separate thing. It's filtered, like my experience and understanding and conversations about non-duality are not very different or separate than what I'm learning and playing with hypnosis. It's all, in that case, it really all, it actually ties in beautifully to every aspect of life, but it's no longer a fixed thing that's the ultimate truth and that's the way it is and that's the wrong way to express it and that's the right way. Or yeah, because I did get to a point, I'll just finish this and then you step. I did get to a point where I got so burnt out on non-duality and I was listening to these speakers that at the beginning blew my mind wide open, like literally blew my mind open, and my mind never has come back together in that fixed, rigid way since then. So I couldn't stop listening to them. And I know a lot of people are in that sort of, oh, conference, okay, who's speaking? Oh, 24 hours a day, you can listen to this stuff, you know, in all different forms of expression. I started to hear it like I'm listening to freaking Looney Tunes, you know, like these are people in an institution saying this is the way it is. And then people listening going, I want to be like you and see it that way too. And it's like, what are we fucking talking about here? What is going on, you know? So yeah, so that's kind of a roundabout way to say something or nothing.
Yeah, I love the yeah, there's so much fun and liveliness and color in how you express this.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess a lot of these things, you know, to my mind, they're as old as time. I mean, this apparent dance between non-duality and duality, it goes back to the Vedas and ancient
Yeah,
Zen or whatever. You know, like there's sayings like first there's mountains, then no mountains, then mountains again, and you know, things like that.
sure.
But
Yeah,
but but it's like it feels like you're expressing this discovery in the moment. Like this one speaker who, you know, I've, you know, had a lot of conversations with, named Nancy Nethercutt. she called it, first there was this emptiness where there was no real experience of anything that lasted like a month or 6 months. She doesn't even remember how long, because there was just nothing and no one. And
Mm,
then she describes this experience of the fullness rushing back in, all in an instant in her case. I think there's also, just infinite variety in how people experience life and, you know,
absolutely.
everything in life. And non-duality is just
Mm,
another, it's just another part of life as far as we can talk about it and experience it, you know, and and people like, Tony Parsons and Jim Newman and the like, they speak about it beautifully from this position of no one is experiencing anything, and there's nothing to be gained, and but yeah, I also have wondered about the difference of a masculine and a feminine expression of this,
mhm.
and 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 really ultimately just this variety of, like, there's no two flowers alike. One of my favorite places I ever visited was the Rose Garden in Portland, Oregon, and
Mm.
it's just all of these roses, and there's no two roses alike, even when there's thousands around you.
Yeah, yeah. And that's if you pay attention, right? Because for somebody else, they're all the same. Like, what a fucking boring thing to come here. They all look the same. Who would want it? So
Very
that's just,
true.
yeah, that's the thing. That's another experience of life, an expression of it as well. With the thing that happened for me was that I stopped taking it too seriously, or so seriously, and everything started to become playful. Even the prospect of death, and which is a guaranteed thing, whatever that is. I don't even need to go into that or care about it. It's just, we're all gonna, this will disappear at some point. And so, and things that used to freak me out, like money, or like my child getting ill, it's everything has this sort of playful sort of, even when you have to play a serious role,
Yeah.
even that becomes playful. And so the whole non-duality and the conversations about it, and the listeners, like, and people talking about that, like people talking about other speakers and how they have this beautiful expression, and all of a sudden none of it became serious, or like concrete reality. It would be the same thing as if we were talking about a movie.
Yeah.
We're talking about a movie plot, and like the version of, of the thing that comes up, the Barbra Streisand, Chris Christopher version of Star is Born, compared to the new one with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
But we're
Yeah.
talking about this expression of this story,
Yeah.
because even when you say it's not a story, non-duality is not a story, it is a story. Really, nothing exists without a story. There can be, there can be a feeling or an experience or a sensation that is empty of story. And this could be like, I don't know, people like to meditate. It could be like an explosive moment of sex. It could be like one bite of the most delicious food that just, there is no story except that which is happening there, pure in its pureness. But as soon as you talk about it, or as soon as you take the next breath, it's the story. It's the sex that I had with this person in that moment. It's that cook that made that so delicious. It's that expression of non-duality coming from that person. So it's all become so free and loose, and accepting of all of it, really appreciating all of it, and not being shameful of my choices. Like, I can't stand to listen to that for 2 seconds, but I could listen to that for 10 hours, and that's okay. It's no longer because they're saying it more truthful, or it's just, the same as you look at a menu. You choose to have the chicken, I choose to have the pasta. Am I more enlightened than you, or freer than you? Yes, I am. Always have the pasta.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's it's a beautiful way to describe it. And I guess the trouble a lot of seekers or just humans run into, is this attachment, and this
Yeah.
expectation and let's say you have a beautiful experience, whether it's food, sex, or a spiritual experience, there's this desire to have it again, or this fear of not having it again, or this desire to have more, and
Sure,
yeah.
sure. And I think, what the sandbox I'm playing in, which is the hypnosis, I'm going to do a plug here. It's called www.radicalfreedomhypnosis.com. But it's the way it's developed in my journey, my practice, my thing. The word radical is really, really key in there, because it does take a sort of radical shift in letting go, in trusting yourself, how life is showing up for you and speaking to you and through you, and your own um, connection or attention to your body and the thoughts you're having, and all of it. Because nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can tell you it's not right, or you can do this. And so when people come to see me, I sort of meet them where they're at. And I'm not saying that, I'm at higher levels and I have to come down. You meet somebody where you're at, because the process to really becoming that radically free, and it takes fucking courage, and it takes letting go of everything, like everything, including, the everything, family, religion, financial status, or comfort. And I'm not saying you're going to have to lose that all to go there, but it's just recognizing that it's all just part of the dream, and it's manifesting in its playful way, for you to enjoy it. In my experience, I don't believe there's not anything to gain.
Yeah.
I really don't. And then I think it's such a funny thing, because and maybe for them and their experience of it, because a lot of speakers say that there's nothing to gain. They do say it's all about letting go or losing stuff, and I see that there's a certain truth, letting go of beliefs, of, even being free in your own mind to say that person who apparently has this experience or place of being in life that I want more than anything, that person tells me there's nothing to gain. Do I have to believe that in order to be like them? Do you believe it? Is it true for you? Yeah. Is it true for you? Maybe it's true sometimes, and then all of a sudden it's not true anymore. Life isn't so fixed at all.
Yeah.
The eye, whatever that story is, the eye comes and goes, and now I don't fucking care about the eye. It's there, it's not. Who cares? Does it matter? It's still happening like this for you. And I feel like shit has opened up in such a playful, free way, but it's had to go through the grind, so to speak. And I don't think everybody has to do that. I think, like, if somebody's right there showing you, like, hey, let's do this dance, let's play in the sandbox for a little while, and you might find, like, wow, this is great. I don't want to ever go in any other sandbox anymore, because this is the best. This is the best ride in town. Or you might say, well, not so sure. You're kind of scary. I'm going to go over there where the people are saying there's nothing to gain and there is no I, so whatever. And that's with everything, not just non-duality. So yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, for me, I've gone from sandbox to sandbox, and there is this feeling of I just resonate with everything you're saying about this. It's because I mean, whatever I'm into, I wouldn't even want to necessarily even talk about it too much. Whatever, way. That's why I like doing these interviews, because I like hearing the variety of how everyone else says it. I mean, like I host a meeting where that's the essence of it as well. It's just to allow a space for people to explore their own expression of whatever's happening in the moment.
Yeah. And for me, that's really what hypnosis has become. Like, every time I go into a session with somebody, it's like, it's not, I'm going to dive into their mind and play around in there and help them feel better if I can, or how I can. And, you know, we're going into this together, and let's see what happens, you know. And the one thing I guarantee, and I shouldn't even do that because I can't really control it. I can't, you know, but
Yeah.
I always guarantee that you're gonna feel better, at least better than you felt when you started. Even if you felt freaking great when you started, you know, you feel better when you come out of that, for sure. But like I said, I should take back that guarantee, because you never freaking know, you know. But anyway, and there's this, like, what you enjoy from the interviews, that's and you're going into this space which is kind of mysterious,
Yeah.
called hypnosis, whatever that is. People have all kinds of imaginations about what that is, you know, and it can be different with each person. So it's really super exciting, you know. I'm happy I found the sandbox, because it's very playful, and, you know, and stuff does happen that's sometimes quite surprising and, you know, miraculous, for lack of a better words, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's awesome. I mean, you know, one thing that well, first of all, I was going through some of your recent videos on your channel,
Mm.
and and you had one that was I think it had a portion of it was hypnosis, and it was actually a really nice experience to listen
Oh,
to.
cool. I'm glad you like that. Yeah.
I loved it. I think maybe, you know, I'd say post more of that. Why not? You know, if you
Yeah.
want to. But I
Thank you for the encouragement. Yeah.
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was like this 22-minute video that was a few back, and also the way the way that you expressed, or what you said during it, was, you know, I'd say very, had a lot of directness to
Yes.
it, for lack
Yeah.
of a better word, where,
Yeah.
like you're saying, when in your private sessions you can meet people wherever they're at, whatever they want to focus on, you know, you'll start there. But I mean, you know, I mean, you're calling that video, you're calling it hypnosis, and
Mm-hmm.
but to me, it's also just like this directness, this direct speaking.
Right.
There's someone else I know who's recently started to speak more openly about non-duality, and the and they say that they can't talk about it, and I asked them, what do they mean? And they say, well, when they talk about it, it's not them. And I said, well, is that like channeling? And they said, yeah, totally. But anyone who listens to them wouldn't realize that. And everyone is just having their own experience, their own expression, and it's always changing, you know, like you said.
Always changing. Yeah. And to allow that to, you know, I said that in my talk on Friday, when I first got into non-duality, and I was like, what? Yeah. Then I noticed there was a lot of male, you know, you mentioned the male female expression of it. And I started looking into females, and I found, you know, I like to drink and smoke, and I found one that did that on her videos, and I was like, oh my God, she's awesome. And then another one was saying, you know, I bought the books, and so this is when I was like, I guess I'd call it like wet behind the ears into non-duality. And I was one of those, like, that's the true expression of I get it, I get it. Oh no, they're steering away from that. And both of these women, you know, they've gone off to do stuff that at first I was really shocked and disappointed. Like, you so cool, you speaking it right and true, and now you're talking about this and doing retreats, and like, how could that happen? And I have to laugh because, like, I don't know, a year and a half later, I'm like a certified hypnotist, and I'm, you know, helping people change their lives, and I came from that sort of same dogma almost. But that was part of the freedom that happened. It's like anybody can think whatever the hell they want of me, and I'm totally fine with that. And I want to say I've developed my not give a shit ability muscle. I might give a workshop on that. It's actually quite fun. The not give a shit ability muscle is that you can't control other people, you know, like, and being not that free myself in the past because of the judgments, and that's a reflection that comes back to you. Well, if I steer off the path, or if I say the wrong things about non-duality, people are going to think about me and comment about me the same way I did about them. I mean, I never commented, I just kept to myself, but that didn't feel comfortable. I didn't want to be seen that way or expressed that way, especially when you're out in the public making videos and talking about it. I felt very, I don't want to be. Now I don't give a shit because it doesn't matter. It's a sandbox. You know, how can you criticize how kids play in a sandbox? You're playing right. No, you're playing that game wrong. You know, and there are people that do that. There are kids that do that, but it's also part of the game. So there's no, you know, and I always come back to, we're all going to die in the end. So let's have some fun before we do, you know?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Gosh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think one place where a lot of people suffer, and you know, to my mind, unnecessarily so, in is they're trying to. They think that they look at someone on a pedestal and they think they know that
Yeah.
person. They think they know, like because of the way that person presents themselves in public, they assume that person never has like a thought, you know, that's like this or that. You know, never has an angry
Right.
thought or a sad thought, or never would have like, oh, I shouldn't have said that kind of feeling. You know,
Right.
because we're all still human, and so much suffering is added on when seekers, you know, have this feeling of like, oh, I thought I had it, but now, you know, my ex called me and I yelled at them, and now like now I know that I'm not there yet. I'm not wherever this other person is.
Yeah.
You
Well, you're
know?
there. You're exactly there. Oh, you're always freaking there. You can never be anywhere else except there. So yeah, that's true. That's true. I wouldn't be there if I didn't have this angry thought, or if I still didn't feel like the burden of the me. And you know, one of the things that I've noticed, and this is where, like you say, there's nothing to gain, but I think the gain is from just, you know, getting what feeds you, or at least what resonates, what makes you feel good. I think that's such a good measure. What makes you feel good, or
Yeah.
in alignment, or or just like at peace, like this feels true to me. It doesn't matter if it feels true to nobody else or right to any, and just following that. And that could be like 10 minutes of a Tony Parsons talk, and then the rest starts to get, oh, there's, then walk out of there, or just sit back and listen. But that's where the thing, like, oh, now this doesn't make sense, or this doesn't feel right to me, so I have to make it like fit it in because they know, and if they're saying it, then that's the truth. And you know, and it's what I've noticed about something to gain is that what you were just saying, and I just had this recently where I had an experience with a client, and afterwards, you know, it was a really, really intense session. And afterwards, I was sitting there, like kind of in a daze and going, maybe I should have done that instead of that. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. And I caught myself, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, the sandbox, it's not my thing. I can't control anything going out over there. We had what happened. It came out like it came out. And I have no idea if what I'm thinking is what he's thinking, or if that's how it happened. I mean, my intuition says maybe, but does it, either way, does it matter? No. So I thought like the Sam, so able to let it go, that just like that, let it go just like that, where something like that in the past would have bugged me for weeks, you know, like, and then I have to see him again. What am I going to say? You know, it's just like if you take that metaphor of children playing in the sandbox, you know, after the game's over, do they say, oh, I can't believe G.I. Joe went left instead of right, and I can't believe he didn't stand up to, you know, G.I. Jane when she said this. It's like it happens. You have the emotions and the expressions in the moment, and then it's done, and it's the next thing. But that doesn't take like energy out of you and mind space of like the grind shit that doesn't feel good. That stuff doesn't feel good. And the belief that you have to think about it to do it better next time, or you have to analyze, you have to figure it out so you can do it better next time. That is fucking bullshit. And but it's hard for people because they think, I have to think about this, I have to get it right, you know. You know, that's a big thing in the non-duality and a lot of spirituality. Thoughts aren't yours, they're not real, they're not true. You don't have to think about anything for it to happen, you know. There's the illusion of choice. You know, Should I do my workshop on Saturday or should I do it on Sunday? Should I call it this? Should I call it that? That's life playing its game. You know, it's gonna come out how it comes out, and it's all good. It's all good.
Totally. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. Well, switching gears maybe to gosh, you're an actor. And you know, as
Yeah.
Shakespeare said
It's
on
been
the
helpful also. Yeah.
and I think you quoted Shakespeare maybe in one of your recent talks, you know, about how we're all actors on the stage
Oh,
of life, as Shakespeare did.
yeah.
And you know, I remember I saw this interview with Marlon Brando where like someone like Johnny Carson or somebody like that was asking him what's his secret to being a great actor, and he said like everyone's an actor. It's not hard at all. Like everyone's
Mm,
always acting. Like you act a certain way with the mailman and with your wife or husband and with your children. That's acting.
absolutely.
That was his answer.
That's great. That's great. There's a similar story that, well, I don't know if, but it's such a great story. There's that the Running Man with Dustin Hoffman and oh, who's that other famous actor? Laurence Olivier. That movie, have you seen it? It's an
I've
old.
never, I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
It's pretty good.
I should see
But
it.
yeah. There's one scene. Yeah, this is like legend or whatever. As an actress, you get these kind of stories that they had to play a scene where they were both tired, like they had both been running or something. So Dustin Hoffman goes and so it's not runs a bunch, outside, gets all really heavy tired, and then they do the scene, and Laurence Olivier is just equally tired. Yeah, it's just like sitting back, sitting right out, scene, okay, get up, act like a brilliant star. And then Al Pacino's like, how do you do that? How can you just get up from like a nap and step into the role like instantly? And I have to go out and run a mile to get into it. He's like, it's called acting. We make it so much more difficult than it has to be.
Yeah. Well, I guess they say, people ask, or say, why does Daniel Day-Lewis have to do it the way he does, and
Yeah.
why do other people, they just snap in and out on, as soon as the director says cut, they can go out of character. But the thing I've heard actors often say is everyone has their own process. I don't know if that could relate to non-duality or any of this, but everyone has their own expression. Everyone has their
in
own
life,
expression.
period. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that acting is such a beautiful metaphor, because like when you're in a movie, so let's say we're in a movie and I have a scene where I kill you, and then the scene goes on, right? And then we're watching the good acting get into character. And then so now fast forward to the movie's been edited and done, it's released, and I'm like, hey, Art, let's go, we got to do our premiere tonight. And we walk in and we see the movie, and it's like this appreciation for each other, like, look how well you killed me, and I'm like, yeah, look how well you died, we did brilliantly. It's like, we're all just playing our roles. And I think a lot of the good thing, because it feels good, that's the only reason, not because it's the good thing, it just feels good here, is that this freedom, this sort of understanding, this way of being that's come into play in my life allows me to truly appreciate every actor and every role I come across, even the ones that I would fucking want to punch in the face. And I might, in the movie, I might do that. I mean, probably won't, because I'm not a violent person, because anybody could kick my ass, so I wouldn't put myself in that position.
Yeah.
I've never gotten in a fist fight in my life. I'd like to try that just to see, but I probably, like I said, get my ass kicked. Oh but yeah, so there's this appreciation and allowance without, like, there's a lot, no tension, no resistance. That's a better word. There's even with sometimes my kid, because he's really intense and he'll want to tell me something and he needs to tell me like 5 times, like right away. And I was just snap. I'm like, this is like the 5th time you've said that in a row. Like, I can't breathe. Really. Now it's just like, this is his expression. This is what he needs to do because probably got some OCD things going on in there. So I'm just going to allow it and just, but instead of like reacting and wanting to be different than it is, there's this like, this is the character playing its role right now, you know? And
Yeah.
if, and you're going to respond accordingly and even more in your own role. And if you can just allow what happens to be, and, you know, like in a play, you have to allow the person to finish their line. So you come in and then you respond, and that makes for a beautiful story. And at the end, everybody applauds because you all did brilliantly, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you know, because it's the freedom for your life to just be as it is. You know, I've recently I've had a couple, 2 or 3 interactions with people that in the past I would have felt more frustration about just their expression. And I think now when I talk to them, no matter how it ends, because in one case it ended where, you know, I feel like I could stay in touch with one person and talk to them from time to time.
Yeah.
With another person, I blocked them entirely on Facebook because I can't.
Right. Yeah.
And
And you have, yes, like you said, the freedom to do that
well, the freedom not only,
and
yeah,
not feel guilty.
right, exactly, the freedom to just, you know, express however, yeah, I mean, whatever's happening is what's happening, but also just but I have this feeling of like their character of like they can't be different, you know,
Yeah.
and they really are just beautifully the way they are, you know, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and I've read some books and thought about, you know, the psychology of why people are the way they are. And I love the Enneagram personality system as one model.
Ah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and yeah, and this, you know, this one psychologist devotee of Nisargadatta named Stephen Walensky, he actually wrote a great book about tying the two together,
Right.
non-duality
Oh,
and the person and how the personality is formed basically as sort of like a defense mechanism almost against the nothingness that we truly are, you know, and not that that's a thing, but you know, but there's still a beauty to the expression of it. It
I
doesn't mean
get
it's a
you.
bad way.
Absolutely. In fact, I just came across this and I thought this, I'm going to read it to you. Oh gosh, I hope I still have it on here. Ooh, I don't, but I can find it. What you're saying is exactly what's been coming up in this wonderful appreciation and understanding of it, right? This quote can be said about anything in life. And before I read it to you,
Yeah,
it becomes all these books. What I mean, I've got a stack of books on hypnosis and hypnotherapy, and I've got, you know, stacks of non-duality and stacks of like numerology. I love that stuff too, and
yeah,
whatever. And you read this stuff, and when you get this, and I think it is gettable, I really do. And it doesn't
hmm,
matter either way, but
hmm,
all of a sudden, all your explorations become about, because they're fun, it comes about it because there's a certain curiosity, you know, how is this person saying this, or
yeah,
how is that, or how do they compare, how are they different, how are they similar? So it becomes this just playful curiosity that is so different than a need, or something is lacking here, so I need to find more information to get it right, or to, you know, make my own sense of it. You make your own sense of it, and some of it's influenced by other people. Everybody came up with whatever they came up with. Yeah, sure, the world is all tying together and everybody influenced each other, and all fields out there. But every now and then you get some crazy person who comes up with this, and all of a sudden like, whoa, nobody said that way before. And
yeah,
then that becomes a thing. So anyway, the quote is, when you are deluded and full of doubts, even 1,000 books of scripture are not enough. When you have realized understanding, even one word is too much. And that's by Feng Yang, which I don't know who that is, but
oh god, that's beautiful,
isn't that great?
it's
I
beautiful.
love it, that. it's soothing. I'm like, ah.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's another tangent. You mentioned numerology, which I don't know much about, but I just happened to look up. I was looking up David Lynch because I remember you mentioned him in one of the other interviews, and apparently he's doing he's drawing a number a day. He's like got these wiffle balls like the lottery, and so today's number is 5, and I was just curious if what your interpretation of that is numerologically.
I don't know the fives too well. So my numerology is that I've really dove into is do you know Dan Millman? He wrote The Peaceful Warrior.
I've heard of that.
Oh, you should
I
check
really
that. What a great story. The Peaceful Warrior was like kind of my first as a like 16-year-old, a 17-year-old, the first like spiritual book, and it was brilliant. And they made a movie of it, which Nick Nolte
Oh,
is
wow.
plays and it's a decent movie, but the book is way richer, like it usually is.
Yeah.
So he wrote a book called The Life You Were Born to Live, and it's the most comprehensive, easy, fun, numerology, and it's based on numerology, the more complex form. But that book is great. So I know certain numbers I know my number, and I know other people's that are in my life, and they're usually 3s, 6s, or 9s, which is kind of funny. I'm not really familiar with the 5 energy, what that means. So I'll look it up though, because I think that's a cool thing to do, like a focus for the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because he's just drawing numbers out of a little thing, and he's not giving any context to it. He's just giving you a
Yeah.
number of the day. It's
Nice.
pretty great.
Where do you get that? Are you on his site or something? How do you get those?
So someone's uploading it to YouTube. I don't know if it's him or
Oh,
someone.
okay.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. The listeners and viewers of this might not be too familiar with these things, and it's pretty off topic for non-duality, but just at risk of, being boring to some. You mentioned, do you know your Enneagram number?
I think I'm a 7.
That makes sense. That makes all the sense in the world.
Okay,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I must be a 7.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
your message is archetypally 7, I would dare say. 7 is all about all the experience. It's about a lust for life and all of the colors and flavors and experience.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and 7s are kind of the most fun in a way. I mean, because of that. Yeah. And well, anyway, yeah, that I was just curious. I'm a 4 for anyone who cares, which means I can be emotionally intense and artistic.
Oh yeah.
And artistic, and I also value individual expression. And I love the paradox of this.
Yeah.
Giselle. I love the paradox that I could say it's like I'm a model of car or iPod or something, and
Right.
and it's like I'm the model that I'm like programmed. Basically, I'm the model to that values individuality. It's like very ironic,
That's funny. I like how you put that. I'm a 30. So in numerology, you take the first number, and it's usually 2 digits, and then you add them together, and that's your base number, and that's kind of the driving energy. And then the first number is a little more specific. So I'm a 30, 30, and then a 3, and the 3, so it's double in mine, is emotion and communication. So I'm curious. Tell me your birthday real quick, if you don't mind. I'll get your number.
Sure. January 13, 1983.
Okay, hold on.
This feels so taboo right now. We're talking about
I know, seriously. You're 35'8". So look it up online. 35'8". You might want to. No, I don't know much about 8s either. Although I just met no, he's actually a 10. Anyway, so okay, we could go back. I'm going to throw in one more David Lynch thing, because I thought this was the biggest compliment I ever had. I was, I used to be an actress, and I used to make theater when I lived in Europe, and I made a play. It was a short, like 40-minute play or something. And it was so surreal, and it was so inspired and influenced by David Lynch, right?
Yeah.
And somebody came up to me afterwards. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know that I liked David Lynch or anything. And they were like in awe. That was one of the best things I've ever seen. it was like a David Lynch film on stage, and I was like, yes, success. No, that was cool. That was one of the best compliments ever.
Giselle, well, here, I'll give you another one, Giselle. I mean, as soon as I heard you mention that, I could totally see you like in Twin Peaks existing as a
I actually wrote a letter to him saying why I had to be in one of his movies. I didn't send it because I didn't know where to send it, but I was like, I gotta get in a Lynch movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
if he makes a 4th season, I'm gonna create a petition for you to be in it.
All right, cool. Thanks. I appreciate that. He should make a 4th season. I mean, what else is he gonna do?
Yeah. Well, apparently he can just make art for 10 years and be happy doing that. What a beautiful expression of creativity he is, where, he could just.
I said no shit.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, not just in the sense of like, he puts out great stuff, but I've heard this about George Lucas too. That George Lucas, he makes movies for himself now, just for him and his friends. He doesn't even show them to the public. And it's there's nothing right or wrong with how anyone expresses. If you want to share it with the world, and and you're or if you just do it, if you just paint for yourself in private, and that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
And another side to that is George Lucas makes wine and David Lynch makes coffee. I mean, seriously. What else do you need? So bringing it back to non-duality a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it, but
yeah, let's reel it back in. I feel like we've committed too many sins. It's time to repent.
We've committed so many sins, Art. We're gonna burn in non-dual hell.
Yeah.
Or Catholic hell, even worse. Anyway, I wanted to mention purpose because that was a big thing about non-duality, or the meaning of life, or the non-meaning of life. Purpose has been a real tricky little bastard, because when I started, so before, like, I don't know, my mom, I don't know, years ago, at least 15 years ago or so, or 12, 15 years ago, I got into shamanism. And I studied it, and I did ceremonies. And then when I live in Sedona, Arizona, which is probably the spiritual capital of America, maybe the world even. Right. Where there's a psychic reader on every corner. There's all kinds of things, metaphysical stores. So I ended up I tried to start my own healing practice, and it took so much energy to get the people to come to me. So I just went where the people were coming, and then they found me. So I did readings and all kinds of stuff. And so it went both ways. Like, I heard so often that I was so gifted in this, and you're so lucky to have found your purpose, and you're sharing your purpose with others in the world, and you're shining your light. And then I would do readings for people and tell them their purpose, and they would feel I'm so glad you told me that, because I've always felt that. And then then life changes like it always does, and then all of that felt so empty. And I'm like, well, if this is my purpose, how could I feel so goddamn bored doing it, right? Like, there's got to be something off here, And then, fast forward into non-duality, and I read the Jed McKenna books, which were really great. They just shook a lot of shit up that set a lot of stuff free for me. And and the whole thing that there really is no meaning to life. There is no purpose, and there's a freedom in knowing and trusting that. But within the story, within the movie, that appears, and there's nothing wrong with following that. Or if somebody really believes in them, in that, and you see, like, they were depressed for months, and now they found a purpose, and they're happy, and they're doing stuff and exploring it. Not that it's better to be depressed than not depressed, or the other way around, but that doesn't feel good, and that does feel good. So I'm not going to be saying, there really is no purpose to life. If you really analyze things, we're just in this void, and just trying not to sink into it as best as we can until we die, and we sink into it anyway, right? You're not going to tell them that. You're going to go, oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I've always noticed that about you. And it's not like you're faking it. You're just helping or adding to somebody's joy for being there, for feeling good, rather than analyzing and criticizing and taking away from it just because you don't believe it's true, or you know it's not true, whatever. So it's
Yeah.
just, it becomes this lighter dance in life, more play and more, you know, why would you want to make somebody feel less good than they're feeling? And if they're feeling shit, why would you not make them feel good, if only for a moment, you know, because you can, because you know something or understand something in a way that they don't, or that, or differently than they do. It's so, it can be so easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I can I feel like I can relate to both sides of it. And
Mm-hmm.
at the moment, I feel it's like I said, when I talk to someone I thoroughly don't resonate with, let's say, I could still appreciate just
Yeah,
they're fully being themselves, and they can't be otherwise. You know, and if my character feels
that's
like,
true. Yeah,
yeah, and if I feel like, or this character, or whatever, this apparent arising, art, Pinsof, feels compelled to challenge them in some way and say, hey, you don't have to be an asshole. When there's a way to express what,
right.
there's a way to meet someone where they're at. And but even still, maybe they say, yeah, from their perspective, they're going to say quite often, yeah, but it's just a handhold, or I don't I don't know what they say, but they're really
Yeah,
just
no, I
the
know
way
what you
they
mean.
are. Whether it comes from trauma, it's like a trauma, just like thing they're locked into, or whatever it is. It's just that
Yeah,
they're playing the part they're playing, and they can't help it. Just like I can't help it.
it's
Feeling,
true. You're absolutely right.
yeah,
You know, and I think there's, it's so it's always changing and it's ungraspable, and I love that about it, you know, because even it, I'm about to say something, and before I even say it, I'm already seeing how it contradicts what I'm
right,
saying. And
yeah,
but then it's like, that's okay, because that's kind of how it works in some things, you know, like people always say it's just a band-aid, it's just a band-aid. Well, band-aids are important, you know, if you can, for one moment of bliss, but no, it's got to be something that's, you know, that just lasts forever, and it's constant through everything experienced in life, no matter what. That's what I'm going for. And a band-aid is not going to work, because that's just a band-aid. And it's like, wait a minute, a band-aid, how about if you go through your whole life with band-aids? That would be okay, right? But at the same time, I do believe in the story of stories, which is all their deep, I mean, it happened to me, for like deep
yeah,
change, where we get to how we experience life, how you and I experience life. You know, just in this short talk, I feel it's very similar. And it's, we still get mad, we still want our band-aids when we need them, right? But there is this sort of deep-rooted, this core. Oh, I think, did I freeze? Am I
it's
still, am I
fine.
good?
You're good.
Okay, because I said, yeah, this core feeling or knowing that is shifted forever,
Mm.
you know. Well, I shouldn't say forever, because you never know, it could always go back or whatever, but I doubt it, I doubt it.
Yeah, I guess. Oh my gosh. Yeah, to me, it's like it well, there's something that I love that this, I guess, this one speaker, Tim Freak, says about, he said, he uses this word paralogical, where it's not one or the other, which is regular logic, it's both, like there's
Yeah,
this, yeah, and it's the opposite of one deep truth is an equally deep truth. And so
yeah,
just as much as there is this permanent sense of like something changed that may happen, or you say you've experienced, maybe I've experienced, that there's also this never ending changing, growing, and
yes,
falling back,
absolutely.
and just humanness, it's just it's the
Yeah.
human. You're not gonna get rid of being human, like this, that this is billions of years of like stars blowing up and becoming a sponge, and then a reptile, and now we're this apparently, and 10,000 years from now maybe we'll be disembodied robots. Who knows?
Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe, and maybe that's not even true. Maybe none of that ever happened, right?
Right. It's just a story.
I used to have this thought as a kid, and I still, when I think of it now, so it's before I got into non-duality, everything. Which is kind of funny, considering I got into non-duality and all that. If you look at the illusion of time and story, but I used to have this thought, like, what if nothing existed, like nothing, right? And that's a hard thought to hold, because in order for nothing to exist, there has to be a something to know that there's a nothing, right? But
yeah,
or a space for nothing to be in, or a mind to behold nothing. Really, nothing can exist.
Yeah.
Or at least our brains can't handle it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so assuming that there's nothing, and then all of a sudden, in half a second, everything just came, like right here, right now.
Yeah.
With the whole memory of the world, your memory of knowing of I think I got that from a dream. It always used to trip me out when I would have a dream. I'm sure you've had this as well, right? You have this dream, and all of a sudden you're hanging out with people that you've never seen in this life before, yet you know who they are, you have history with them, you're in a house that you've never seen, but it's your house and you know where everything is, and stories are happening, and then you wake up and you're like, what the fuck? Where did that come from? Who were those people? Why was that in the house? Why? It makes no sense. And I thought, what if that's the same with this? And and if every second it's just the playfulness of what can, now it's a different story. Now this is the story, and then next snap, you're going to be somewhere else, and it's going to be a different history of the world, and not extinction, but existence. Yeah. Like the dinosaurs are the ones playing on the computers, and they evolved from the humans or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. It's you're opening up so many sandboxes, Giselle, and it's
cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many places. There's actually a good science fiction movie called Dark City that sort of touches on this. If you haven't seen it. Yeah. I
haven't. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, with Kiefer Sutherland, I think. It's really good. Robert Ebert said it was his favorite movie of the year, actually, when it came out. And it's really good.
What is it? Dark what?
Dark City. Yeah.
Dark City. Is it an old one, or?
It's from like the late 90s. Yeah.
Okay. I'll look into it. Nice.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, it's a good movie. I recommend it to anyone on this who's interested in this kind of stuff and what we're talking about. And yeah, so gosh, it's the opening up of sandboxes. It's like everything leads to more things. One thought ripples, and then those ripples create more ripples, and yet it's all the ocean. It's like the waves in the ocean,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of it. The beauty, I lately, that the yin yang symbol has really been speaking to me again, as far as like the yin energy is this representing this wholeness, this stillness, this nothing, and then the yang is the everything, and it's the expression, and the bing boom bam, just zooming along, just all the waves in the ocean. And you're right, we can't say that there's nothing unless there's something to observe it. And I've been informed by people who've researched into all that stuff, the ancient Dzogchen teachings of nothing, right. And the original word for it didn't mean nothing. It actually meant no thing. It's essentially not this thing, so
right.
It's like the Vedanta thing, not this, anything that which is seen can't be it, and yet it's all it.
Yeah, whatever it means.
Right. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, I just had something that so parenting has been a really awesome opportunity to explore freedom,
Wow.
right? Because I mean, I got a real firecracker for a kid. I mean, he's intense and he's brilliant, and he, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's easier to just be like the old kind of like how you were parented and how they were parented, the authoritarian, because I say so, no, be quiet when when the adults are speaking, all that kind of thing. But anyway, so it's only the three of us. So we're lucky to not have much influence, and we have our families are elsewhere, and we live in a small town in the desert. So we got a pretty peaceful um, lab to explore, and experiments are, and at the beginning there was a lot of fear, like what if I'm fucking up my kid, and I'm like, well, too bad. But as you see the evolution and the nature of it,
Yeah.
I just let it go and trust it 100%. But I'll tell you like a few specifics. For example, he's brilliant, but he's not very yet with his hands and coordinated, that's the word. And his mind works very differently. Like I said, he has what we would label OCD stuff. So his mind works very differently. So and when he's 12 now, and he's just starting to do things on his own that like before we would do it, and what, because we could, why not? So he wants to now do it on his own. And for example, like make pancakes, and from getting the batter, making the batter, pouring it. Oh, it was actually waffles, pouring it into the waffle thing and everything. And just, do you need help? No, I'm fine. And like watching him and wanting so much to like, no, but then you're gonna, and that I literally had to step away, because it was more peaceful for me than wanting to interject every time.
Yeah.
Then I had this bigger perspective picture that was such an aha moment. I'm like, there is not one way to make waffles. And this kid, the way his brain's working and the way his body's working, he might come up with a completely different, ingenious way, or something that leads to something else that we would have never thought of. And how many of us as individuals, as unique human beings, would be like that, or allowed to explore that at least, if our parents, and I'm saying, okay, within safety or whatever, if our schools didn't tell you, no, this is how you have to do it. If our parents didn't tell you, no, this is how you do it. No, you're doing it wrong. No, you're making a mess. No, and it was like, I saw this meme, and it had somebody, like, I had a chair upside down and somebody like climbing over it like this, and it said something like, you can't be wrong if they don't know what you're doing. And I thought, that is really good. Like, and Alan Watts said something like that once that struck me huge. She's like, you know why people stress out so much? And I'm totally paraphrasing, but people get stressed and anxiety about stuff because, for example, a clean house, or let's make it smaller, a clean room. There's only one way that room is clean. But there's 1,000 ways where it's not clean. So the battle you're finally fighting is you're never going to win it. It might be clean for an hour, for a day, and then it's like, oh, again. I have gotten so comfortable with messes. I'm like, especially with my kid, I'm like, oh, this is clean today. This is what clean looks like today. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it reminds me something the musician Brian Eno said about music, and how like the most clean sound is this thing called a sine wave, which is also the most boring sound. It has no character whatsoever. And so the character that makes music interesting and beautiful and trigger emotional responses is in it's in the notes that don't make sense at first, that like, oh, that's interesting, and it's in the tones that have some interesting texture to them that's jarring, and in life, it's like the beauty is in the imperfection. The perfection is not, it's boring. It's not even real. There is none, so yeah, appreciating the mess, I mean, is, sometimes
Yeah,
that's all you can do. And it's like that Byron Katie thing about loving what is. It's
yeah,
not trying to make things different all the time, but just sort of accepting and loving what is, whatever's showing up, because that's, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And the same, like what I said about my kid, I mean, he's such a great example, because sometimes I'm like, well, what if he's gonna burn it? Like he makes scrambled eggs or something, and like literally leaving the kitchen if it's too like hard to leaving it, and just trusting that's life working through him as him, right?
Mm,
And then that also gives him confidence, like, hey, my parents trust me to make an egg by myself without, or whatever. And it builds, and then he's got to figure stuff out. And he's also he learns to ask for help if he can't figure it out. I mean, it's such a different way than we were parented or brought up in, the school system and all that. We practice what's called radical unschooling, which is you live your life as school does not exist. It's not homeschooling. It's not, you know,
wow.
and it's a whole different paradigm. In fact, I'm doing a talk on it on Saturday. It's a free talk. I'll send you the link if you're curious.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Will that be recorded? Because this interview probably won't come out before then.
Oh, okay. I think I can record it because it's on Zoom. So yeah, thank you for that. I'll record it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our viewers and listeners can find that on your channel.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's just, apparently Elon Musk is unschooled his kids, or there's another one.
Mm.
I think it was even, I remember like, oh, that makes sense.
Mm.
Some actor or somebody like that, or some,
Mm.
I want to say the Apple guy. I can't even come up with his
I'm
name.
guessing it's an outside the box approach. It's
absolutely outside the box.
there's no
What?
box. Like,
No, there's no box.
yeah.
That's the difference between freedom and radical freedom. You just nailed it right there. Radical freedom, you can freedom, you can see the box and you can work your way out of it, and still maybe still keep an eye on it. Like the more comfortable and confident, you can still get really far from the box. But radical freedom, there's no box. You're on your own, baby, but you're not, because you're held by life always. And then seeing how, seeing what an awesome kid he is. And not that kids in school and who are parented, old school style aren't awesome, but
Yeah.
I do have, because I've worked with kids a lot. I just have like, oh my God, you're such a brilliant kid. You're so expressive and you're so shit, this will probably last till you're 12, and then they're gonna fucking work it out of you, teach it out of you, whatever. Because that's just the truth in a lot of ways. People get conditioned in a way, and it takes so much force to kind of break free from that and find your own way in it. And I think that's how a lot of us find our way to spirituality. Like there's got to be more than what we were taught. See, that's another thing I catch myself when I do watch the things back. That's another reason I don't watch them back. Oh God, I must have said like 1,000 times. Why can you pay attention to what you speak? See, as an actress, you learn your lines and there's no extra in there, right? Because that's right, the word, the text.
Yeah.
Oh, this freestyle talking,
Oh, it's beautiful color, and who knows, maybe the next, Tarantino person, like who's, praised as the best, best new script writer. They're like, oh, his dialogue's so natural because he has all these knows in it, like it's more realistic. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, wow. What are some of your favorite things and least favorite things? Just a fun random question.
My favorite things are I really enjoy tequila and conversation, or even tequila and no conversation, with a good friend it's really, yeah. And I love going on road trips and just spending a day or two. We just got back from Laughlin. That was one of the most magical, expansive time. I went with my best friend Cheryl, and was just like,
wow.
It takes a bit to come back to earth, even though, you know, life here is great and everything, but it does, you know, to the roles, mothers, you know, wife,
Yeah.
hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
Whereas you in Laughlin, it was like, had no idea what time it was at all, ever.
Mm.
No idea what day it was. Just okay. What Tuesday we have to leave. It's not Tuesday today, so it doesn't matter what day it is. Yeah, and oh, now it's day, now it's night. You know. So anyway, that's great. I don't like routine at all. And I even wonder, is there even, I like natural routine that just, I wake up, I have no idea what my day's going to look like. Now it's starting to have some structure in it, which I don't mind, because structure is different than routine.
Yeah.
I do what I love. Oh, I have a session at 9 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Awesome. I know I have to wake up before 9. That's all I know about tomorrow.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I have my session, and yeah. And I love watching movies
Mm.
in bed.
With tequila?
Yes.
Mm.
And in the morning, coffee.
Yeah, morning coffee. Yeah.
Sometimes I watch a morning movie. That's nice too, with its shades drawn still.
Wow. Yeah. What are your favorite movies?
I don't know. That's a hard one. I I have if I thought of that question in the past, but then I always forget one that comes up later. Like, oh, I forgot. But it's The Matrix, the Fight Club. I really, 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 really love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I'm not sure I would make it a favorite movie. And I don't know why. Maybe because it's 3 hours long and there's parts of it, like these movies I've seen 100 times.
Yeah.
I couldn't see 100 times that movie. I could see it a handful. I've actually watched it 3 times because it's so long and there's scenes that aren't that. Oh, I just took this off my YouTube channel where you can see it on my Facebook. I took it off my YouTube channel for professional reasons, perhaps, because it just didn't coincide with the whole thing I'm doing. But I had it up there for 2 days. My favorite. Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Tarantino film?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know that scene where Leo DiCaprio goes in the trailer and he has a fit because he didn't remember his lines?
Oh my God. It's amazing. Yeah.
It's the best scene in any movie ever. I'm convinced of that. And for that reason, it might make the top 5. But anyway, I always wanted to do that scene. And I did it in Laughlin, and my friend Cheryl recorded it, and it's so good. It's on the money. It's so good. I'll send you the link to that because, you know, I practiced my lines and now I don't look like I goddamn practiced them. You fucking miserable drunk. That's it. That's fucking it. So I had to get that.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I had it on there for a few days and then it was a lot of fun. That was probably the most fun I've had in a long time making that. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Oh, I love it. I don't think we can end on a higher note than that, Giselle.
Cool.
Cool. Well, thank you for having this talk with me. And if people want to reach you again, where could they find you?
It's www.radicalfreedomhypnosis.com. And there is a free audio right on the homepage where you can just listen and kind of get a feel for. It's a nice feel-good hypno session, which is kind of a relaxation thing. So
yeah,
you can check that out. What's your favorite movie, Art?
Oh, I mean, for the longest, I thought it was Pulp Fiction, but it keeps.
Oh yeah, see, that's one I forgot. I love that movie.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, The Matrix is up there. The Big Lebowski is up there. I guess a lesser known movie that I really, really love is Paris, Texas.
Oh, love it.
Love
it.
Yeah. Yeah, just beautiful and everything.
Harry Dean Stanton.
Harry Dean Stanton, yeah.
I have this clip. I'm gonna see if I can find it and I'll send it to you. I have this clip. And actually it's a full interview, but I haven't seen the full interview where Harry Dean Stanton is talking non-duality.
Please send it. Please send it. Yeah.
He's not calling it that, but and he's so animated, you know. I love it.
I think I might have seen it, but not in a while. So if I have, so please.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I'll put.
no, I get a little obsessive about, you know, nerding out on things like, yeah, Harry Dean. He made a great final performance in this movie called Lucky.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you have to see it. You have to see that. David Lynch has a cameo in it as well.
Really?
Yeah, he plays like a guy at the bar. It's great.
Nice.
Who's probably chain smoking cigarettes, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 good movies to check out. Awesome.
Well, yeah, this was a really fun talk. Thank you, Giselle.
Thank you, Art. I'm really glad you reached out. It's been a pleasure. Let's keep in touch.
Definitely.